What's up, guys? Welcome to Anything Goes Podcast. I'm Mark Pangle, and I'm going to be your host. And today we get to start the first Anything Goes Podcast with the man himself, Grayson Parker. Grayson, tell everybody who you are.
We up in here, Grayson Parker. I get to be the worship pastor right here at 5 Point Church.
And I work with the youth,
And he works with the youth.
For the youth.
That's the youth.
We do. So Anything Goes Podcast is going to be exactly what it sounds like. We're going to talk about anything and everything and have a blast. And today, Grayson and I share a love for certain things. We're going to talk about all of those things. Some of y'all will be interested, some of y'all won't. But you really ought to tune in today because it's going to be a lot of fun.
And before we get into the main event, what do you think about Travis Kelce and old T. Swift?
Listen, I was a big Travis Kelce fan way before all this T. Swift, Travis Kelce stuff happened. I don't know if you've listened to the Kelce's podcast. It's really good.
It's one of the best ones.
And I watched the show on, I think it's on Prime. I can't remember. It's really good. Yep. And so I love the Kelce's. I think their story's fascinating. Neither one of them were superstars at Cincinnati. Yep. He actually got into some trouble, and his brother was a superstar. He was a lot better college player, the one that's at the Eagles now, the center. But obviously, T. Swift's a bigger star. I mean, this is not like sports versus she's top 5 in the world, megastars. Yep. And then he's the best tight end in the world. But if you're not a football fan, you don't care.
Right.
So if the argument is who's bigger or who made who, I mean, to me, it's T. Swift. What do you say?
I agree, T. Swift. And his follower numbers on Instagram kind of showed that. They skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Hers are probably always growing, but they didn't take a big jump.
Right. Well, the conspiracy theorists in me, I think they probably like each other. I really don't care.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
If he doesn't, he's brilliant. Because if
mustache.
He wanted to build his own brand, hook up with T. Swift, hang out,
Genius.
Whatever. And so
Genius.
He's pretty smart, if nothing else. Now, if they end up getting married or something, then obviously they liked each other. But who knows? I mean, he's dated some other famous people before, but this one is a whole different
That'd be an
ballgame.
interesting name, Taylor Kelce.
I doubt she changes her name.
Yeah, she's not. Sorry, Travis.
It's T. Swift. That's not a fun name. T. Kels.
Not happening.
Who wants to be T. Kels?
Or he can be Travis Swift.
He might.
Maybe
if I was
his.
him, I'd think about it.
Yeah.
Before I'd go the other way.
I would too.
But it's interesting. There's been a lot of sports that cross over relationships over the years. I can't remember one that was quite that massive. Like it shook everything.
I agree.
Because the NFL is already a massive brand. I mean, if you look at all the professional sports brands in the United States, by far the biggest brand is the Shield. I mean, everybody refers to that. That's what she's so big that they every time she's at a game, I mean, how many times they show her? I think this past week they were on Thursday Night Football, so that's on Prime, on Amazon Prime, and I think they showed her 31 times.
Yeah, and she's the one. They show her even walking through the security stuff, and not even players. It's like she's the player, and they've been waiting on her to get there.
And I get it. I mean, that's smart on their part, trying to get a whole different audience in. But if you look at the NFL's numbers, a regular season NFL game will draw more than the World Series will in a couple weeks.
Yep.
By a bunch.
I believe it.
And so you look at them and go, all right, so if we can have 10 million viewers and now Taylor Swift's making it 15 million, every single viewer is dollars.
Yep.
That's what they're looking at. So it's smart.
And she has followers named Swifties. So
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
That's got to be a movement within itself. Like, we don't
crazy.
have that.
I got a question for you. Speaking of what you just said, why do you think she created such a movement? Why is her concert so massive? I mean, my daughter's begging to go to the movie that's out now about this thing. It's a 3-hour movie about the stinking concert. I'm like, it's like she wants to go. Why is it such a big movement?
Yeah. I think, honestly, she's done a great job over the years, honestly, just making the Swifties or followers or whatever feel a part of her journey, a part of her story, part of her life. She hasn't ever been super, she writes songs about the relationship she's been in, and that's where all that comes from. But she hasn't been, from my knowledge, crazy dramatic.
Right.
And even though she's always exploded and blown up, she's always fan first.
Yeah.
You know, she always shouts them out, thanks them, appreciates them. I think she incorporates them within the concert and the show and all that stuff. And the crazy thing is, she's not even the most talented person on stage.
Correct.
But people love her, and her songs, they relate to them, you know, because there's ladies and men and boys and girls, high schoolers, teenagers like that are going through breakups.
Yeah.
And how many times do you hear people, I mean, we play it
in
youth on Sunday nights, you know, Love Story or something, and everybody's just like, Romeo take, you know, it's like, and it's just like, and she's a great storyteller, and I think that people are able to live in some of those stories, and they relate, and I think she's just done a great job at that, and it's not been about the money and fame.
I think something you said a minute ago, specifically not the most talented on the stage. I think a lot of times we get caught up. You and I have talked about this a ton, probably the last decade even.
Yep.
I think as a society, we get so caught up with who's the most talented.
Yep.
And I'm talking about internally.
Yep.
That we miss whether people would read a book written by her on leadership or not.
Yep.
She's writing a book.
Right.
She just doesn't have to put it on paper.
Right.
Like there's so much to learn from what you said she was unbelievable at leading. For example, I was blown away, and I've heard people will criticize anything.
Yeah,
we were talking about this yesterday. People will criticize if you gave $1 billion away. People would somehow find a way to criticize and say, "Well, you kept $1 billion."
Right,
I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Yep.
What she did for the truckers.
Yep.
Yes. You look across the board. I know she's made a ton of money, but here's the truth. It's her money.
Yep.
She ain't got to do that.
Do whatever she wants.
Here's what I told Leah, my wife, is I've never made as much as the bonus she gave her truckers.
Facts.
Not in 1 year.
Facts. And how many truckers was it? It was like
dozens.
Yeah,
like it was
the
number was
number.
outrageous.
Yeah,
the amount
crazy.
of money she's given away
The show is huge.
just to her people. Like, here's the deal. I'd like to work for that. You know what I mean? Like I know they're killing themselves. It's hard work, but I'm like, that's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. And this is the fact that she thought of that, you know, and it wasn't, I don't even think it was because she knew it would get out and everybody would talk about it and be in the news. It's like as much as she's going the level that she is on, she thought about them.
Yeah.
You know, they mattered that much. And I think that's what she's great at. And I think that's where even the leadership side, like we're talking about, it can get twisted because we think that talent is influence.
I agree.
And it's actually not. That's just the gift that gets you in the room or in the door and opens it up. But it's not. It's character like that keeps you there. It keeps you going. It keeps her career long lasting for years to come. You know, I even think about that. I know we're not talking about basketball, but that's one of the things I've always respected about LeBron James. Of course, I'm a huge fan.
Sure.
I love Michael Jordan too, and there's all those debates. But like the one thing I can say about him being in the league for 20 plus years now, I can't tell you one negative thing he's ever been in drama about with family or anything, character or whatever. He's always, and his family is now blowing up. His sons are now coming up, but they're not drawing attention or any negativity toward them, even at a teenager's age, with all the lights and cameras on them. And I think that's a perfect example of just who you are, you know, is also more important than just what you do.
Right.
And
I
it's
think
now carrying into the generations.
This day and age is harder too. If you want to make the argument, I mean, I love MJ, and my age, we grew up. You know, I was in high school in his final championship runs and all that stuff. That's fine. The one thing I'll say, Tiger was my favorite golfer, still is. He's just reaching the end of his career.
Legend.
But both of those guys, as great as they were, had all kinds of off the course or off the field, off the court issues. You haven't heard that with LeBron. There's no way his people are good enough to hide everything. Not in 20 years. You can in 2 years. Can't hide everything in 20 years. So regardless of people don't like whatever things about him, they can dislike stuff on the court. You can't argue with 20 years of greatness. Can't do it.
2 decades
Can't do it.
now.
It's
crazy.
No one has come close to that sustained level of greatness over time. You can't. No one.
Nobody.
I don't think people realize how much wear and tear the body goes through. Just at the next level, better yet, the professional level, and to go through it that amount of time. And he's smart. He's He says in interviews he puts $1 million into his body a year. Well, why? That's his, like, that's an important tool that he's got. You know, God gave him those gifts, but if he doesn't do something with them. What I find fascinating is what you said is, like, he's always. I have no idea. Like, has he been faithful to his wife every time? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. What I do know, and it matters if he's faithful. The point is, he's obviously doing enough right things consistently. Where, because the world wants to kill you.
Right.
So there's plenty of people that want to tear him down. And it's hard for me to believe I don't think there's any possibility that he's done these big bad things, because it would have come out by now. So
I agree.
I find that fascinating. Going back to T Swift for a second, this is my question to you. What do you think the church, or even youth age, as Christians, what can we learn? What can we glean from? Like, is it possible to see a movement of God like that, where it sweeps the nation, sweeps the world? Because we got something better than what she's got.
Yeah, I agree.
That doesn't mean necessarily one person should be leading the movement. That's not even the point. But I think what I'm asking is, and this is what I've been asking myself, is what does she do that transcends and gathers in that we don't?
Yeah.
How does there such a wave, massive movement across? It really is global.
Yeah.
That we got Jesus, and we see none of that.
Yeah.
Right? And so what can we learn from her? Not necessarily trying to reproduce it, not trying to be her, but what can we learn from her?
I think just what you said, reproducing and all that. Like, the word that came into my mind when you were talking was comparison. I think the world we live in, you always compare what you have to what somebody else have. You always compare what you're doing to what somebody else is doing. Yeah. You know, even for teenagers and youth, you know, I have a son, 16. I know you got a daughter as well, same age. Like, with social media, everything in front. Yeah. And I know we're going to talk about branding, because that brings another piece to that puzzle. But, like, I think with Taylor Swift, the reason why she's making a movement and doing what she's doing is because she's only being her. She's doing her, and she's not worried about what somebody else is doing. She's not worried about if her song is #1 or how many awards. And the crazy thing is, I was watching the MTV Music Awards like a couple weeks ago, and she was in every category almost, for music videos and songs. And the crazy thing is, I was sitting there thinking, like, if she's in the group, her name's getting called for sure. Not because I'm thinking talented or anything, but this is the thing. It's one of the only award shows that fans actually vote.
It's what they want.
Exactly. I said, she's the most likable, influential artist out there. They're voting for her. She's winning.
No question.
Even if you don't like the song, even if you didn't like the music video and care about the quality of it and everything, I was like, Taylor Swift's winning. If her name is in that group, it's getting called.
It's bananas.
And sure enough, the winner of this one went up, Taylor Swift. Bananas. And she's up there again, and they're looking at her, and she's humble and you know, blown away and grateful, but also it's just, you just know. And I think that's the thing. She's writing her songs.
Yep.
She's living her life. She's doing her thing. And along the way, we're going back to character, she's just being her. She's not trying to be somebody else. She's not trying to act like somebody else. She's not trying to please somebody else. I'm sure she has just as many haters as she does followers.
Oh, my gosh.
And they're waiting on her to fall. I'm sure they're waiting on her and Travis Kelce to probably break up at some point, and it don't work out. I'm sure, you know, as much as she gets celebrated, she gets, you know, brought down as well. But I think at the end of the day, and she's just consistent. And I think for us, it's hard for us to make an impact on someone if it's a competition. And as soon as you have a seed of comparison, you're basically inviting and opening a door to compete.
Yeah, that's really good.
And if we're all on the same team and we're trying to reach people, and we're trying to love everybody, and we're trying to be Christ-like followers, you can't always be in competition. If I have something that somebody needs, why am I comparing myself to them if they don't even have Jesus? I should be living my life in a way that I'm not comparing what I got, what I don't got, what I'm wearing, what I'm not wearing, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, who's doing this, who's doing that.
Yeah.
And just be the best representation of Christ and a Jesus follower, and that's going to influence people to want what you got. But a lot of times, as Christians, Christ followers, church goers,
that's right,
we're competing with the next church down the road, or we're competing with the next high schooler or teammate or a classmate or family member or whatever. And all of a sudden they're going, man, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want, like, nobody would want what Taylor Swift's got, or even feel like they can relate to her, that she understands them and they understand her if she was competing for their attention.
I completely agree. One thing I've always respected about you, and this is, like I said, we've been friends for a decade now at least, and one thing that I've always loved about you, excuse me, in particular, is you dress and do Grayson.
For sure.
Right? And I mean, I do the same thing. I wouldn't say I probably, unfortunately, should care more.
Right.
I have certain things. I like to play golf, for example, and I have specific golf brands that I like. Yep. And they're bougie. I mean, I have more expensive taste than the job that I currently hold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, same here.
But I'd love for you to talk about that, because I think it can be a fine line, what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
If I'm buying Jordan 1s, for example, one of my favorite.
Yep.
I got 11 of them myself. You've got more than that. If I'm only buying these to try to be something,
right.
that's when I get into gray.
Right.
What I love about you is you don't do that. So I'd love for you to just talk about why you like certain brands and how you haven't lost Grayson inside of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like what you're saying in general. Like, I grew up, of course, I think it's the creative brain side of me to some degree. I love fashion and clothing outside of just worship and music and church and ministry. And I think, shoes did, I guess the problem is the comparison thing is so heavy with social media, and it's almost like you're defined by the brand, and you're presented a certain way, or you're looked at a certain way if you have on a certain thing.
Yeah, like these.
Right, exactly. Like Off-White.
If you don't know what this is,
they're Off-White Nikes.
Off-Whites are
Dunks.
a whole different ball.
Exactly. Virgil, he was the man. He's RIP, but he innovated. He was a thinker. And that's the thing. He made an impact. He made an influence, because he wasn't just looking at Nike, feeling threatened by Nike. He said,
how can we do something else?
Yeah, how can I take Nike, or even did his thing, and he saw these strings like that going across, and he saw, the tag. Everybody asks me all the time, do I have like an ankle monitor on or something, because
if they don't
why is this tag? And I'm like,
brand,
if you cut this tag, it will take some of the value off, because it's part of.
Shout out Hudson Clary.
R.I.P.
It's like, I think it's 10%. The value is it.
Some people think
you lose
that's
almost 90% of the value just by cutting the tag off.
People don't realize that that's actually a part of the shoe. It's on purpose. Yeah,
it's on purpose to stand
It's
out.
what Virgil saw, and sometimes people look at these and go, man, those are interesting. Like they have the different color strings and the tag. I don't understand that, and the colors, and it's like, but I'm sure when he was envisioning this, and when God, or however he got this creativity came inside of him, he thought about it, and he wasn't going like, and I'm sure his brain wasn't just like, I need to do this so everybody will forget Nike.
There you go.
And take on me.
And Off-White is a bigger brand than Nike.
Exactly.
They have several different brands that they partner with.
Yep.
And if you're not careful, you can go, oh, all those cool people are wearing those, so I need a pair.
Exactly.
If you get them because you need them to feel like you've made it, that's not the point of having those. I got Jordan 4s on today. I like Jordan 4s. 4s and 1s are my favorite.
They're my faves.
However, I don't need them.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I like them.
Right.
And so that's the difference is, and like I said, that's what I've really appreciated about you is you're not trying to be what someone else wants you to be, a vision for your life that someone else has. And I think that's where people get lost is, oh, that group wants me to be this, so I'm going to go get me a pair of those.
And that's how I can only be liked or associated or fit in even. And I think as I've gotten older, and I've kind of been like this too when I was my son's age and stuff too, I've just only have been taught and been around in the generation where it didn't matter as much. And so I've just always known to be Grayson, because I don't want to live in a space of anxiety and worry and being always self-conscious about like who likes me, appreciates me, wants me. And the thing is too, like a lot of people because of it now live on affirmation or living on appreciation. And what you're doing is you're only saying that I'm worth what I do and not worth what God created me to do. And you're basically dumbing down and cheapening the value of what God actually already thought about you and placed on you when he created you.
That's right.
You know, like even though, you know, these shoes are worth certain prices and they go up and down and all this stuff based on hype and all these different things, like originally the creator of these shoes had a certain like value already on these shoes, and that's their creation.
That's it.
And if you bash it, don't like it, and don't want to wear it, does not mean that the creator still don't value this shoe or, you know, care about it enough. And yet we go, well, I only like this shoe if somebody else likes this shoe.
Yep.
I'm only going to wear this. They, you know, they call them hype beasts now. They call them hype shoes.
Right.
You know, sometimes people go, you're a hype beast. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I just like what I like.
Yes.
And it just happens to be something that everybody else likes right now.
There you go.
But even if you stop liking this shoe, I bet you I'm going to be wearing this shoe tomorrow.
That's it.
Because I like it. I like the backwards check. I like the look, the feel, the colors, the back. I love different.
Me too.
Like, I think a lot of people are afraid of different or don't want to venture out into different because they want to play safe to what everybody already likes.
And well, because if I'm different, it's like I'm swimming upstream. And if I'm what you said about T Swift a minute ago, no matter if people love her or hate her that are listening, she's got tens of thousands of haters.
Right.
That's what people buckle. If they find out one person dislikes them, one person said something about me, and we're going to have a conversation about it. Better yet, tens of thousands of people. I think that's why influence is so challenging, because we all want it. Like I read this the other day, the percent of teenagers that dream about being a social media influencer. But that's the new job. We grew up wanting to be pro athletes.
Now.
That was almost everybody our age that was athletic at all wanted to be pro athletes. Now that's no longer the case. It's
YouTubers
social media
and TikTokers. And
even Travis Kelce, his social media influence. It's hilarious. T Swift helped him become a social media influencer versus just a tight end. I think the challenge behind that is influence is underneath the social media part. And influence is leadership. What I love about you, what I've always respected about you, is you're a builder of people. I've told everybody I've ever met this. Why is Grayson so good at what he does? You're super talented. You can play every instrument. It freaks me out. I can't play the fiddle. I can't play, I don't have one instrument I can play, whatever. So I'm always, I admire that talent. But what I admire most about you isn't your talent. It's that you can even look in our youth ministry, you've influenced what people wear. Influence isn't, I tell you should wear this. Influence is, I'm me. I consistently am me. And things start changing around me. You're an influencer. So I don't care what your social media presence is. I'm not even on social media, so I don't know what it would be. But the point is, do you have influence in your world? And what I've told everybody is Grayson Parker is a builder of people. And you're an influencer. When you come in, things will change. And so I think you've described it without having to say, how'd you do that? In the last 10 minutes or whatever it was, you've perfectly described, I'm me. So how do I word this? How can I be me if I don't know who I am? Because I've tried to wear the shoes Grayson wears or wear the shoe, try to be this person, or now I'm watching Travis Kelce. How does he pull Taylor Swift? That's so cool. What can I do to be How can I be me?
I think like this is gonna be. I think I've word played it before. I think that how do you live in a content world content?
That's good.
How can you be content with who you are? And I think, like I said, I just have had to accept and realize, because you're always going to be spinning the wheel and running the hamster wheel, trying to, again, compare to somebody
Be
else.
what you tell me to be.
And it's like, I wish I could sing like that. Or I wish I could play
There you
that.
go.
Or I wish I could run or
There's
be
something for
athletic
everybody,
as somebody else. Or I wish that I had followers like somebody else. I mean, you could go across the board, preach like them, talk like them, communicate. You could just spin it in so many different ways. And I think that you just have to realize that God created you to be you.
Awesome.
And if he wanted you to be somebody else, he would have gave you what he needed to give you to be somebody else. But we're wasting time trying to figure out something that was already thought out. like we're trying, like God, he thought about you already. He knew what he wanted you to do. He created you to do. He put you in the year that you're in, the generation that you're with. And in the group, the school that you're in, the church that you're in, the city that you're in, with the friends and the people, and we waste it because we're always trying to figure out something that we already have the answer, and that's Jesus. And I think for me, I try to be confident in knowing I already have the answer. Wow. That I already have the one that created it all, and I could worry about it. And I'm human, just like anybody else. I could focus on social media. I could focus on what other people are doing and go, man, I ain't doing nothing. Or I can focus on, or I can wake up every day and I don't have to be arrogant, but I can be confident that, God has me here in Easley, South Carolina, through everything that I've been through my entire life for this purpose and reason right now. And how do I want to wake up every day and walk in it and be in conversations and just stop and even if it's just hugging someone or loving someone or saying hey or recognizing someone, we got a guy that walks around all the time at Dodges and different stuff. His name's Clint in Easley, and he always comes running up to me excited, and I've realized it's not because it's just I'm gracing and I expect that. I know. I just always stopped and said, "Hey, Clint."
That's it.
I stopped and always hugged him. And now he texts me every Sunday morning on Facebook and goes, "Good morning. I'm at 5 Point." And then he'll come running across the lobby. I say all that to say it's just because God's put us here to influence people. And our influence, again, is not our giftings and wooing people. It's who are you? Yep. Like your fruit. You'll be known by your fruit. What are you producing? What are you saying? What's your heart like versus, the talent and stuff? And so.
You know what we say, and this kind of sounds dumb. I say this all the time. I don't really know. If someone asks me today, what are you the best at?
Right.
Honestly, probably nothing. Not trying to be humble. Just being honest.
Yeah, same here.
I'm not the best preacher.
Yep, same here.
Not the best this. I'm not the best this. I'm the best at one thing, though, being Mark.
Yep.
Nobody else on planet Earth can do Mark Pangel better than me.
There's only one of you.
And if I'll just remember that, it takes a lot of pressure off.
Exactly.
If I don't try to be what they, them, I got a job to do. I got certain things. I got people I answer to. But at the end of the day, if I'll just be me. And focus on, he's got a call. He's got a plan. He uniquely placed us and all of them right where we are. Well, then it takes a lot of pressure off. I don't have to perform for anybody, right? And I think that really helps. And
this is what I was going to say about shoes and brands while we were talking about it real quick. The best ones are the ones that actually collaborate.
That's like we were talking about a minute ago.
For instance, Travis Scott and Nike.
And Nike.
Dior and Nike. J Balvin and Nike. That's J Balvin's logo. Travis Scott, Off-White and Nike. Sean Weatherspoon and Nike. Yeezy and Adidas. What I'm saying is the only way you can collaborate is when you're not in competition.
That's it.
So you can try to just be Nike. And you can try, but there's the thing. What happens when we come together? Imagine the impact.
If Nike had never joined with that brand, there wouldn't be a Nike.
Jordan. Exactly.
In the 80s.
Exactly.
In the 1980s, if they hadn't have teamed up with MJ.
You can go back and watch
then you wouldn't have him all the rest of them wouldn't be able to collab. Because Nike decided, Phil Knight decided, let's take a risk and let's join together. That takes a lot of humility. It takes humility to go, you know what? It doesn't have to be all about me. But if I can team up with you, we can do something.
Exactly. And that's how we're going to make the biggest impact on earth. So, but there's an order to it. I have to be good with me and just be me and not compete with you. And then we can team up though, because now I'm not threatened by you.
I bet you, I don't know what our audience will be, but mostly teenagers. I bet you 90-something% of them never heard of Phil Knight.
Yep.
Who started Swoosh, who started Nike.
Yep.
You might not have heard of him, but his $65 billion speak pretty loud.
Yep.
65 billion is what I said. So you cannot hear of him all you want to.
Yep.
You cannot care.
Yep.
But his willingness to humble himself and team up with big names.
Yep.
And it not have to be all about him. He's made it, whether you like him or not, he's made a pretty big impact.
And he influenced you.
Massive.
Because
generational
everybody's
influence.
wearing them.
We can do that.
For generations and decades. And I think that's just like the biggest thing. If people can be okay with themselves, so then that they can go, we can all start collabing and doing things together, being on the same team, not killing each other. Like, imagine the impact, even as a youth and a generation, that we can have to come when you're not going to school or going to church or going to or out and about, and you just feel like I gotta outplay this person in a sport or outdo this person or get this girl or boy to prove that I'm all that in a bag of chips. You know, it's like, it's just, that's the world we live in. Or I don't have to get on Instagram and it ruins my day because I see the success of somebody else that I should be hearting and celebrating, saying this is amazing.
What if we
congratulations versus, oh man,
how crazy would it be if we celebrated each other?
And now you go sit in a dark room and waste your life away because you're just, and that person's actually moving on, not worried about anything else.
Right.
You know, so it's just enjoying your life and being you.
I hope that y'all will take that away. Be you. Enjoy your life. And anything goes. That's what we want. It's going to be about any and everything. It's going to be crazy. But each week the goal, and we're going to have to bring you back a lot.
Let's do it.
Because you were awesome.
No, we're having fun.
But the goal is just to get to know us and for you to get to know you. And inside of that, I hope what you'll realize is everything is spiritual. Like, not everything points you to Jesus, but everything. You don't have to sit in a room for 12 hours a day and read the Bible. God didn't design you to do that. He designed you to go and be you and influence the world around you. And if you can learn, you can be you. And you'll do that. It's a game changer. So subscribe, check us out. We're going to be here, and we can't wait to hang out with y'all each month, each week, and then each day eventually. Love y'all.